T20 is an exhibition, and Test cricket is an examination. And the point is that we are a very invidious situation. I mean, when you're getting offered the type of money that these guys are being offered, you know, it's only one way they're going to go. And it's a lot of money. So the point is that we have to try and keep the guys that we have, teach them the right things, and hope that our cricket will still be in shape. Because don't forget, 5 million people, different walks of life, it's only a small cadre of people playing cricket, or playing sport for that matter. You go to England, they have 365 cricketers. India's got 1.25 billion people. Pakistan's got about 80 million or more. New Zealand is the only country that probably have the same people that we have. Sri Lanka's got a lot of people. So they can lose players and still retain that, that standard that is needed. So we are in a very invidious position, and we're hoping that we can get our players to do both, if possible. It might be difficult, but somebody's got to, you know, be in there and bang that drum, hoping that they will keep playing. They can play some of the T20, but still play for us. If not, we will be, if we lose 5, we got to bring another 5. Then we lose another 5, and we bring another 5. It's like digging a hole to fill a hole. We don't have the population, so we have to try and keep the players that we think are test match players or one-day players for them playing for us.
So Clive mentioned that, earlier that we're living in a different times in terms of a different era, and it's absolutely true. In Clive days, it was West Indies are not an option. Today, there are several other options. And the way the cricketer sees it, it's loyalty to West Indies or loyalty to my family. And when you look at it this way, you understand where they're going to go. So Cricket West Indies now have to try and strike some sort of balance. Of course, you encourage loyalty to West Indies cricket, but at the same time, you got to find a way of balancing, just like in life, and you have to balance life. You got to find a way of balancing that situation. More education, more history in terms of where we're from, in terms of getting players to understand there's a purpose. There's a value to cricket in terms of the West Indies, what it has meant to West Indians, whether we're living here or in the diaspora, how important it is. All of those are factors you hope that they take into account over and above just loyalty to West Indies and loyalty to their family. And at the end of the day, they too strike a balance, because I would just mention to you that Cricket West Indies, in recognition of the fact that we don't have the resources to pay a player $2 million like some of the other territories per year, like some of the other territories are doing, have opened the IPL window and said, during that IPL window, gentlemen, you can go and make some more money, right? Our hope is that they would have played the IPL and then come to West Indies. But what has happened is subsequently the leagues have just popped up all around the world, and the guys are seeing big money being offered to them, and they're trying to take advantage of it as much as possible, even at the expense of West Indies cricket. We got to find a way, not Cricket West Indies, but collectively, all of us in the West Indies, own the Cricket West Indies and the rest of the shareholders, to try and encourage those players to play for West Indies and perform for West Indies to ensure that we can regain our cricket legacy as one of the best playing territories in the world.
I just wanted to add that there was a saying that was developed, came about in the 1950s, that you can't stop rock and roll. And it is germane even to this discussion in the sense that the world of cricket is evolving. Cricket West Indies really just has to try and keep pace and adapt as quickly as possible to the evolution that takes place. And so franchise cricket has come along. It has grown incredibly. You know, I will tell you, I was at the ICC when the ECB presented this thing called T20 cricket, and quite frankly, back then I thought it was a gimmick. I'd seen the Hong Kong sixes come and go. I'd seen double wicket competitions, and I thought this was just another gimmick. And lo and behold, it has taken the world by storm. Now, it has taken the world by storm to the extent that it's creating all these ancillary franchise leagues aside from the IPL. But who knows if they will last? Because you see already certain financial issues evolving, coming out of those leagues. Then you've seen some just very exciting test match cricket being played and so on. And you wonder, are we going to maybe go through another cycle? The last 15, 20 years has seen the incredible growth of T20 cricket. Who knows, maybe we're on the verge of a rebirth of test cricket again. And I think that would be helpful and useful for us as Cricket West Indies to stay abreast, to keep the fire burning as much as we can for test cricket, because who knows, the pendulum could swing again. And you could see broadcaster interest again in test cricket. You know, there's a lot of debate taking place now on the potential of a two-tiered system and changing the financial model that underpins test cricket. All of that, we have a role to play. We have a seat at the table at the ICC, and we have to just stay abreast as close as possible to all the changes that could happen, position ourselves, hedging our bets, so to speak, to make sure that we're in there as West Indies cricket, no matter which way the wind blows, and try and take advantage of it, no matter what happens. So that's basically the position we have to take, keeping abreast of everything that's taking place and positioning ourselves for the future.
The point is too that we have to look at what's happening at the ICC with the share out of the money. India, Australia and England get 180 million. And the West Indies will get 80 million, just like Bangladesh, Afghanistan. And we are 2 years off, I think, of being in that group for 100 years. So to me, that's not right. Good? And the point is, we have to stand up. We're hoping to go to the ICC and ask a special dispensation. Because, you know, when we were in the ascendancy and we were doing so well, everybody wanted to play against us. We were playing Australia very often, playing England very often. And when we go to Pakistan and India, they were getting millions of people. We need to get better stands, and, better facilities really of such. India just built the Modi Stadium. Can hold 150,000 people. You think we'll get one like that here? When would we get that? And the point is that, we don't have the population to fill those sort of things. But the point is we need to get a better share of the pie. Because we were the cash cow for quite a few people for a long time. And we need to get some of that. And I'm hoping that the board do make that recommendation, follow up on that recommendation where we can be adequately given the money that is needed.
Thank you, Sir Clive. I'm going to be taking questions from those online because obviously there are no more from those in the room. This one is for Mr. Lewis. Do we believe our territorial boards know how to implement systems that develop players? This is from Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Look, I don't know if it's a question of whether or not I believe. If you look historically, you would see that our territorial boards have developed cricketers over the years. Times have changed, and of course, with evolution, probably the territorial boards have not necessarily kept pace like scientifically. But I think the absence of resources is a factor as well. But I think that everybody's trying to see exactly what can be done. Development of a player to me is like two ways. Those players have to be able to want to put in the work as well. Because in the absence of, sometimes there's an absence of, let's say, all the necessary facilities. But I've always said to young people who I speak to that some of the most successful persons in the world lacked resources, and still they overcome the odds to become, to be top in their field, their specialized field, the area they have chosen. So yes, I would say that territorial boards have developed players of the years, and I think that there are still efforts, ongoing efforts to do that. They would need some work though in terms of players getting as far as that level. Needs to have some certain skill sets when they get there. And the absence of school cricket, I'm talking about school cricket, which is now really, sadly have declined to a level where it's really immature-ish. That is a factor that is inhibiting the growth of players as well. The territorial boards are definitely trying, and hopefully with a little bit more resources and some input in terms of technology, that we'll be able to produce even more than they are doing now.
Thank you. This one is from Leighton Levy from Jamaica. Why is it that we have not implemented an integrated grassroots program with an associated matriculation system that sees the best players selected at the respective regional teams right up to the test level? I think this will be for DOC.
Just run it over from the top, Jerome.
Why is it that we have not implemented an integrated grassroots program with an associated matriculation system that sees the best players selected to represent the respective regional teams right up to the test level?
I think grassroots cricket, especially since we've lost the kiddie cricket program, takes different forms in different territories. So it's difficult to have one program that operates the same way across all of the territories. And the age at which these players come out of grassroots cricket, there is no structured program at the CWI level. So the way it used to work is that you would play kiddie cricket, and then you would play primary school cricket, and you go into early secondary school. In some cases, there were under 15 tournaments. So the secondary school tournaments would be two-part, where you have a under 15 level tournament, and then players from that would matriculate into national under 15 team, having local scouts looking at secondary school cricket and drawing out a pool of players who would vie for an opportunity to play for under 15 team. And then, your under 15 team will come to a regional tournament. And similarly, the senior secondary school players would be called in a pool that would play, that would vie for a spot in the under 19 teams, and then you come to an under 19 tournament. So that system, as Director Lewis just said, has broken down somewhat in that, a lot of schools now don't play either primary or secondary school cricket, or the level of the primary and secondary school cricket have deteriorated to a point that you don't have the same sort of quality of cricketers coming through. So that is something, again, that was discussed extensively over the 2 days. We have spoken about our ability to actually track players from those levels, and we have committed to finding some sort of a program, or building it if necessary, to start to track players from those very early programs, grassroots programs, primary school programs, etc. so that we have an understanding of what that catchment is like, what the pool of players that we are going to draw from will eventually be like. And I expect that that would help in terms of developing systems around that to ensure that we can streamline the movement of players through our pathways.
All right, thank you, DOC. I have 3 more questions before the CEO will just close. Australia's CEO, Todd Greenberg, recently spoke about his interactions with you at the recent ICC meeting in Singapore. He has already publicly supported the idea of Australia, India, and England doing more to help West Indies being more competitive in Test cricket. Can you elaborate further on your discussions with the Cricket Australia CEO?
Well, quite interestingly, when the first person I ran into at the ICC meetings in the airport was the Australian CEO. And of course, I had just left Sabina Park, where we had been dismissed for 27. And he was the first to sort of empathize because he said, reminded me that just a couple of years ago, Australia had been bowled out for 47 by South Africa. But in fact, they were 21 for 9. And if not for 2 drop catches, they would have had the world record for the lowest test score. So I think what he was trying to say, look, these things happen, don't be despondent. And I think what Todd expressed to me then and in subsequent conversations is that the world of cricket does feel a sense of gratitude towards the West Indies for what the legends like Clive Lloyd and even before him, Sir Frank Worrell, etc. had done. There's a reason, for instance, why every country wants India to tour now, because that's where most countries make their money. And there's a reason why India always makes a point to include the West Indies on the schedule, no matter how strong or weak we're perceived to be. And in fact, you know, when we discussed it with BCCI, they were like, you know, Chris, don't worry, we will never forget the West Indies. Because of the history of everything that, you know, West Indies cricket had contributed to world cricket, but in particular the kind of relationships that were built many, many years before us. You know, there's a Sir Frank Worrell Day every year in Calcutta. You know, it's just, we do have a tremendous amount of goodwill. How to take advantage of it has always been the challenge. And we do have to try and come up with some programs that they might be willing to support. In fact, Brian has come up with a couple of ideas, but I won't share here because before we discuss it at Cricket Committee, discuss it at our management team to see how we can get it done. Sir Clive has also volunteered to be part of a delegation to lead on some of these initiatives. So we will be taking advantage of some of the offers that have been made. But it's not even as much, not even the international territories and countries like Australia and India, the big 3, and England and so on that we have to rely on. The United States is a massive market that beckons beside us, and the US cricket has even reached out to us. They just recently crossed the 400,000 registered cricketers barrier, 53,000 under 14. And so when you have the USA participating in all domestic tournaments, some people think of it as developing and helping to develop USA, but it's also helping to develop Cricket West Indies and West Indies cricketers at every level. And so they have reached out and looking at areas to cooperate, to collaborate. They're the second largest television market in the world, second or third largest television market in the world for cricket. And so you understand the importance of making sure we create allies in this part of the world, and also maintaining the friendships and allies that we have with India, Australia, and England. So we will be trying to take advantage of it, and some of the ideas were discussed at this over the last couple of days, and we're certainly going to be taking Brian and Sir Clive on their very generous offers to get involved.
All right, thank you, CEO. And the penultimate question, well, the last 2 questions are from us, but the penultimate one is, what KPIs will decide if reform is working? whether it is the team KPIs, pathway KPIs, coach KPIs, and how often will they be published to the rest of the stakeholders?
I assume this is from Caribbean Cricket.
This is from Nazira Mohammed.
Okay. When we develop our plan, a part of developing any plan that is going to be sustainable and implementable will be to establish KPIs. So we know what we are judged on. We are judged on our win-loss ratio. So that definitely has to be one of them. But I expect that we would also look at player development as one, because we trust that if we are able to get our players to develop their skill levels, support them in actually developing their skill levels, that we will get some results, more W's, as Michelle says from time to time. But in developing our plan, that holistic plan, we will be developing the KPIs that we will use to gauge our successful implementation of those plans alongside the development of that strategy.
The final question has to do with the selection policy, removal of the selector, as well as explaining what the process is in terms of the selection of a team, and that it's not just the coach who picks the team.
Yes. So our selection process involves, at the first stage, the gathering of information on the players in our region, right? And that comes from the territorial talent IDs, who are, for the most part, the lead selectors in every territory. And the thinking there is simply that these are the people who are scouring their territories daily, looking for whatever talent is available. So those persons gather information on the players and their skill sets. That information is then sent to our senior talent manager, Jamal Smith, who collates all of that into depth charts by territory, and a depth chart for West Indies teams. When we need to select a team for a tour or a tournament, a series or a tournament, the head coach will then provide a strategy for that particular series, right? So if it's subcontinent, we may need 2 spinners, 3 or 4 seamers, whatever that outline is based on the strategy for that series, that is developed by our head coach. The head coach and the senior talent manager, along with any other additional resources that is deemed necessary to engage in that discussion, many times that would include the analyst. In fact, all the times it would include the analyst. It may include the batting coach, bowling coach, but definitely the head coach and the senior talent manager will convene that meeting. And the purpose of that meeting is to match every role that is outlined in that strategy to the most suitable player based on the data that we have available. So the head coach will, for example, if you're looking at an aggressive opening batsman, if that is what is outlined as what is needed to be effective against that opposition in those conditions, then the discussion ensues between the head coach, his batting coach, the senior talent manager, who has all of the data about all of the players, and they will discuss which player is the most suitable to fit the role. If there are multiple players who are being considered and a choice has to be made, the head coach has the final say, right? And I think that aspect of it is the part that some people take to understand to mean that the head coach is the only one doing the job. But the head coach has never once unilaterally selected a team and sent it to me as director of cricket, right? So the process involves the head coach, the senior talent manager, any other resource persons, which includes the analysts, and they go through a process of determining for each role which player is the most suitable to fit that role.
Thank you, Miles. And we'll just close out today's proceedings with some remarks from the CEO, Mr. Chris Daring, in terms of just reestablishing or reinforcing long-term plans and sustainable development.
Thank you, Jerome, and thank you everybody for coming today. I want to thank the chairman for leading the 2 days of very in-depth and enthralling discussions at times. Sir Clive Lloyd and Brian Lara, who gave us of their time. In fact, all the people who participated the last 2 days. We want to assure you on behalf of Cricket West Indies that we take everything that was said, all the recommendations that were given, very seriously. And we will, with our own plans, one of the things that was quite almost gratifying was it validated many of the things that we had been working on behind the scenes already. So it definitely helps when you have people the caliber of Sir Clive Lloyd and Brian Lara and Ian Bradshaw basically saying and endorsing some of the things that and the plans that we outlined we might be looking at doing. It's not going to be an easy road. There are going to be, I think, have to be a building block approach, like almost like creating using a Lego set, because we're not going to be able to build everything at once. But there are certain things that we know are priorities, and we're going to have to find a way to prioritize them, to make sure we have the budgets that fund them, and we need to execute and deliver them. And we're very, very confident that we'll be able to deliver on many of the items in very short order. Some items, it's going to take some thought, it's going to take some innovation, it's going to take some risk-taking, but we know that the end result is worth it. I want to acknowledge the presence of the president of of Cricket West Indies, who snuck in and is pretending to be a member of the media. But I know that the board is fully behind everything that Sir Clive, Brian, and the other gentlemen who participated today have recommended. There's never been a question of doubting the kind of intelligence, the kind of insights that could be provided by these gentlemen. And we're just really happy to have them involved. We want to keep them involved, keep them, but the only way we know we can keep them involved is if we deliver on some of the things that we've promised to deliver for them, which again will redound to the benefit of West Indies cricket. So it's not going to be easy, but cricket, and I want to emphasize that Cricket West Indies can't do it alone. There are many elements in the production pipeline that are not within our control. There's age group cricket within the individual countries. There's schools that are run by governments. There's airlines that need to provide logistical support. And so, across the length and breadth of the country, of the region, we're going to have to pool all the resources at our disposal. We face an incredible commercial gap between ourselves and the other cricket-playing territories. Let's not fool ourselves. But that commercial gap can only be bridged if we come together as a region and use what we know that we have to challenge that commercial gap. One is the athletic quotient. Two is the indomitable spirit of the Caribbean. And I have every confidence that collectively we can overcome these hurdles and put West Indies cricket back where we all know it belongs. Thank you everybody for coming, and we look forward to your support.
Good luck to West Indies tomorrow. As you say, life was not meant to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but I'm sure the young players that we have, with the right sort of guidance, that we can get there, but it will take some time, and it will take the type of guidance that is needed. Thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you, Sir Clive. And I want to say thanks again to the CEO, Mr. Chris Daring, former Captain Brian Lara, who had to leave because of personal reasons, Mr. Enoch Lewis, who is the chair of the CWI Cricket Strategy and Officiating Committee, Sir Clive Lloyd, former West